Plastic is everywhere, in our homes, cars, and even clothes. But what happens when this plastic breaks down into tiny particles that are so small they become invisible to the human eye? Microplastics, this invisible threat that ends up in our oceans and even inside our bodies. In this video, you will learn what microplastics are, how they affect the environment, and the dangers they pose to our health. Microplastics are tiny fragments of plastic, usually smaller than 5 millimeters. They can come from larger plastic objects that break down due to UV radiation, wind, and water. Microplastics can also be intentionally produced in the form of small beads, used in cosmetics or as industrial pellets. These tiny particles enter the environment, where they become a serious problem. Microplastics enter the oceans in many ways. Plastic products such as bottles, bags, fishing nets, and other waste break down into smaller particles under the influence of weather and mechanical factors. Microbads from cosmetics, microfibers from washing synthetic fabrics, and abrasive particles from tires enter surface waters through sewage systems, which are not designed to effectively filter them out. Microplastics can also float in the air and be transported over long distances, eventually settling in the oceans with rainfall. Microplastics are particularly dangerous because they are absorbed by various organisms at every level of the food chain. Plankton, which is a fundamental part of the marine ecosystem, often mistakes microplastics for food, leading to their ingestion. Consuming microplastics can reduce their reproductive abilities and disrupt basic metabolic functions. Mussels, crabs, shrimp, and other invertebrates are also vulnerable to ingesting microplastics. In mussels, microplastics can accumulate in their tissues, affecting their ability to filter water and properly nourish themselves. Fish that consume microplastics may experience digestive problems, internal organ damage, and can pass the microplastics further up the food chain when they are eaten by predators. Microplastics are also consumed by larger marine organisms, such as whales, which filter large amounts of water while searching for plankton. Seabirds that feed on fish are also at risk of ingesting microplastics. It has been found in the stomachs of many bird species, leading to malnutrition and, in some cases, death. Another problem is that microplastics also pose a threat to us, humans. Microplastics can enter the human body in several main ways. Microplastics are present in many food products, including fish, seafood, sea salt, honey, and even drinking water. Studies have shown the presence of microplastics in bottled and tap water around the world. Microplastics can also float in the air, especially in enclosed spaces, where their sources can include products like carpets, furniture, synthetic clothing, and dust. These particles can be inhaled and enter the lungs. Although it is a less likely pathway, microplastics can come into contact with the skin through cosmetic products, such as exfoliants containing microbads. There are concerns that microplastics might enter the body through damaged skin. Scientists are just beginning to understand how microplastics affect human health. Microplastics can act as carriers of toxic chemicals, such as polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs, dioxins, phthalates, and heavy metals. These substances can adhere to the surface of microplastics and enter the body through ingestion or inhalation. Once in the body, they may disrupt hormonal functions, cause organ damage, and increase the risk of cancer development. Microplastics may lead to inflammatory responses in the body. Animal studies have shown that microplastics can trigger inflammatory reactions in tissues, such as the intestines or lungs. These reactions can cause cell damage, oxidative stress, and even tissue damage. Microplastics may affect the gut microbiome, the complex community of microorganisms living in the intestines. Changes in the microbiome can lead to digestive problems, weaken the immune system, and contribute to the development of chronic diseases such as diabetes, obesity, and heart disease. There are concerns that microplastics may accumulate in the body, particularly in organs like the liver, kidneys, or lungs. Scientists are investigating whether microplastics can accumulate in the human body. While some studies suggest that microplastics can be excreted, there is a risk that some particles may remain in the body and accumulate in tissues. Researchers are conducting epidemiological studies to understand how microplastic exposure affects the health of human populations. Although long-term data is still lacking, Preliminary results suggest that people living in polluted environments may be more vulnerable to negative health effects. Although microplastics are ubiquitous, there are ways to limit their formation and spread. Many countries have already introduced bans on the use of plastic microbads in cosmetics and personal care products. Extending such regulations to other products, such as cleaning agents, could significantly reduce the amount of microplastics entering the environment. Effective waste management, including recycling and the disposal of plastic products, can reduce the amount of microplastics generated by the breakdown of larger plastic waste. Implementing deposit systems for plastic packaging could increase their return rate and reduce the amount of waste in the environment. Reducing the production of single-use plastic products, such as bottles, bags, and straws, is a key step in cutting down on microplastics. Encouraging the use of reusable alternatives, such as glass bottles or cotton bags, can help reduce plastic waste. Technology plays an essential role in combating microplastics. New solutions can help remove them from water, soil, and air. Engineers are developing filtration systems that can capture microplastics in drinking water and wastewater. Home water filters, as well as advanced filtration systems in sewage treatment plants, can significantly limit the amount of microplastics entering aquatic ecosystems. Research into biodegradable materials that can replace traditional plastics is key to reducing microplastic formation. The introduction of alternatives, such as bioplastics, which break down in the environment without generating microplastics, can greatly reduce their presence. Changing consumer behaviors and societal attitudes is essential to effectively combat microplastics. NGOs, governments, and schools can run educational campaigns to raise public awareness about the microplastics problem and its impact on health and the environment. Education on how everyday choices can influence microplastic levels is crucial. Supporting community initiatives, such as beach cleanups and waste reduction campaigns, can mobilize people to take active steps in protecting the environment. This kind of engagement can also put pressure on governments and businesses to take more decisive actions against microplastics. Investing in advanced recycling technologies that enable the processing of different types of plastic is key. Improving recycling infrastructure and educating the public on proper waste sorting can increase recycling efficiency. Fighting microplastics is a complex challenge that requires cooperation on many levels, from individual consumer actions through technological innovations to international agreements and legal regulations. By reducing the sources of microplastics, supporting recycling, educating society, and developing new technologies, we can effectively combat this growing problem and protect our health and the environment for the future.